This meeting is now being recorded.
Hello again. I'm Chloe Shields. I'm a Senior Associate for Partnerships here at the Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves. And thank you for joining us for this new partner webinar today. This is both for partners that may have joined the Alliance recently in the last 6 months or last 1 year, as well as our existing partners that have been with us for a long time. But really this new series is focusing not just on one particular tool or resource or engagement activities for our partners, but it's also providing a bit of a refresher for those newer partners on who is the Alliance, how do we work, what are the benefits of being an Alliance partner, and what are some upcoming opportunities for partners to engage. So I will provide a brief introduction before I hand it off to my colleague Kate Farr, who's a consultant with the Global Alliance focusing specifically on the Clean Cooking Catalog, and she'll provide a demonstration of that resource a bit later in the presentation. So for those of you that may be slightly new to the Alliance, with the aim to create a thriving global market for clean cook stoves and fuels. And this is in response to this persistent problem which all of you are also working towards in your daily activities, where 3 billion people are still using solid fuels to cook their daily meals. And that results in numerous impacts on women in particularly and children, on the climate and the environment, the significant health impacts resulting in numerous deaths annually, and other livelihood impacts. And so with that problem in mind, the Alliance came together in 2010 with a number of founding partners to establish this mission to save lives, improve livelihoods, empower women, and protect the environment, with the goal of reaching 100 million households who adopt stoves and fuels by 2020. Through a consultative process with sector experts shortly after our launch, and building upon the lessons learned by our partners over the past many decades of their work, we determined that a market-based approach was the best way to reach our 100 million target. And this approach is built on 3 core strategies: strengthening supply, enhancing demand, and enabling markets. And this really drives all of the work that we do at the Alliance, whether it's fostering innovative new technologies or building capacity of enterprises to strengthen that supply into the market, or generating demand for clean cooking solutions by raising awareness among consumers of the impacts and benefits of cleaner stoves and fuels, and ensuring that appropriate financing is available for those end users to purchase such technologies. Or our market enabling work, including the development of international standards, or commissioning research to strengthen the evidence base for clean cook stoves and fuels. The Clean Cooking Catalog, which will be featured today, is one example of how the Alliance is working to enable markets and drive demand by making price, performance, and other information on cook stoves available to our partners for their planning and decision making. The Alliance is led by a secretariat based in Washington, D.C., that coordinates our global activities with a number of market managers present in our 8 focus countries. These focus countries, China, Ghana, Guatemala, India, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda, are where the Alliance really goes deep with targeted support for clean cooking, and our market managers are physically present there to serve our locally based partners in those countries and regions. But beyond the Alliance Secretariat, we depend on our partners, which is now a network of over 1,000-some organizations who come from the public, private, and nonprofit sector and include governments, NGOs, foundations, multinational corporations, small and medium enterprises, investors, and researchers, among others. And just a few of them are displayed here on the slide. And we really count on the work of our partners to support and advance clean cooking efforts around the world in conjunction with what the Alliance can do. We encourage you to find and connect with these 1,000-some partners through our online directory, the link of which is shown in the slide above, where you can get a better understanding of who else is working in your particular geography, or how can you find more distribution partners, or whatever you may be seeking, and reach out to them directly to strengthen your efforts. So quickly, we wanted to highlight just some of the benefits of partnering with the Alliance. What does it mean to be an Alliance partner, and how can you take advantage of some of these opportunities? And really the short answer is that be formed of Alliance activities both globally and more specific benefits. In terms of resources and capacity development, our partners are uniquely eligible for our funding opportunities. So whether that's our Spark Fund or our Pilot Innovation Fund, which have already closed for this year, or our Women's Empowerment Fund, which is just opening this week for applications, that is open exclusively to our partners. Partners also receive invitations to Alliance workshops, events, and webinars such as this, get a first look at toolkits, reports, and other resources, and are subscribed to our newsletter. I already mentioned our online partner directory, in which each of our partners are featured and allows for both other partners and those seeking information on our website to better understand what you are doing on the ground and reach out to you as appropriate. Oftentimes, the Alliance introduces partners to donors, facilitates relationships to other partners, or connects them with media opportunities as appropriate. And we provide other visibility-enhancing opportunities, such as our newsletter's Partner Spotlight or promotion through our social media channels, particularly Facebook or Twitter. Just to highlight a few upcoming opportunities for partners, I mentioned that our Women's Empowerment Fund is opening this week, and that is a fund that will provide grants and capacity building of up to $75,000 to scale effective business models for empowering women energy entrepreneurs. And really, that grant can go to increasing the number of women earning income in the clean cooking value chain, or testing innovative approaches to scaling women's empowerment throughout the sector. So if that's applicable to the work of your organization, we encourage you to check that out at our funding opportunities link shown above. We also just recently released an Empowered Entrepreneur Training Handbook, which is also available on our website in our resource section. And the handbook provides business skills, empowerment, and leadership training curricula and tools that can be implemented to better support women sales agents and entrepreneurs in the energy sector, including clean cook stoves and fuels specifically. So check out that resource as well. We also wanted to mention to you all, we will be hosting our next Clean Cooking Forum. This is an event that occurs every 2 years, bringing together representatives from across the sector. This year's forum will be held in Accra, Ghana from November 9th to 13th, so save that date. And you can find many additional events and opportunities, both Alliance events and partner events at the events page on our website, also shown here. So that's just a brief introduction. As I mentioned, the purpose of today's webinar is also to highlight one specific tool or resource that the Alliance has created for its partners. So today we'll be talking about the Clean Cooking Catalog. I'll hand over the presentation to my colleague, Kate Farr. Kate is a consultant with the Alliance who's been working with our technical team since 2013 on the development and growth of the catalog. And if you give us just a moment, we will actually be doing an interactive demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the catalog, and then you will hear Kate introduce herself and begin the next part of the presentation.
Okay, looks like we're ready to start the interactive demonstration of the Clean Cooking Catalog. As Chloe mentioned, my name is Kate Farr. I've been working with the technical team at the Alliance since 2013 on the ongoing development and growth of the Clean Cooking Catalog. I wanted to start out with just a little bit of background on the Clean Cooking Catalog to start out with. So the Clean Cooking Catalog is an online global database of stove and fuel performance, and that includes information on stove features, design specifications of stoves, emissions levels, efficiency, safety, and other performance metrics, both from laboratory and field testing. So it's looking at integrating both information on stoves with test results to provide information to our partners and to other people who are interested in this database. The catalog is built from partner submissions, so it's really a partner-driven resource, and it serves as a living resource to document progress within the clean cooking sector. So the catalog was launched in 2013. It's part of the Alliance's Standards and Testing Initiative. Its predecessor was the Stove Performance Inventory, and that was a spreadsheet compilation of publicly available performance data from publication 1996 to 2012. So that was kind of the jumping off point for the Clean Cooking Catalog. And the test results in the Clean Cooking Catalog have the information from the Stove Performance Inventory. So it's test results dating back to 1996. But as I said, it's a partner-driven resource, so we now have a lot of data from more recent years. And to stay current with technology and innovation and stove sector progress, this catalog was created as a dynamic tool to enable transparent sharing of test results and to facilitate collaboration among testing experts. So the Clean Cooking Catalog allows for rapid, convenient access to information on these cook systems. And so who's really using the catalog is kind of the last major thing I wanted to say as an introduction. So really, manufacturers are using the catalog to showcase their product. So looking at product performance, quality, and innovation. Investors and donors who are looking for data to support informed business decisions, who are looking at consumer interest, and they're looking for a resource for stove assessments and comparisons. Researchers who are seeking data for analysis, validation, and partnerships. And testing centers who are seeking tools to share results and promote collaboration. So what you're looking at right now is the main page of the Clean Cooking Catalog. And the Clean Cooking Catalog is divided into major sections, and those you can see listed at the top. The first one is the stove section, which is searchable stove listings filtered by characteristics, fuels, materials, retail price, geography, and performance tiers. The second is testing centers or testing organizations, and that's an interactive map of global testing centers who are contributing these test results. And then the third is test results, which is a comprehensive stove performance results database using standardized metrics and allowing for users to filter by different metrics, different test types, stove types, testing environments, and reporting types. And I should also mention, even now, as we've had the catalog running since 2013, we're entering into a new development stage of the catalog where it's growing and expanding to include more information, such as a new fuel section. So similar to how we have the stove section spotlighting stove technology, we're going to have a new fuel section in the upcoming months that will spotlight and highlight different fuels that are manufactured by our partners. And we're also looking to integrate more information and guidance on consumers and what they're really looking for, what are their preferences, what can we take out of these test results that will really translate into that market environment. So those are all kind of upcoming developments with the Clean Cooking Catalog to look forward to. So that is the overall view of the catalog and some of the background on it. I think I want to start by if we can navigate to the stove section to take a look at what's listed there. So what you're seeing is from our manufacturers who have contributed information to the Clean Cooking Catalog. These are different stoves that are deployed out in the field. And there are obviously many, many more stoves globally that are being deployed, and we encourage all of our partners to submit their stoves to the Clean Cooking Catalog. As I said before, the catalog is really focused on tying technology to performance and having those test results. And so I often get asked, what if my stove hasn't been tested yet? Can I still contribute information to the catalog on my stove technology? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We definitely encourage having those test results. But for some of these stoves on here, they're not at that stage of development yet. With 259 stoves that are listed in it. And these stove listings that you see in the main section, it brings up the entire list, but you can actually on the left side filter by different options. There's different stove characteristics. If you click on that filter option, it'll show you some of the different characteristics of stoves that will give you different results in the Clean Cooking Catalog. There's also filtering by fuel type. So as I mentioned, we're looking to develop a new fuel section, and you'll see a lot more detail on those fuels in the upcoming months. However, right now you can see what stoves are listed in the catalog, such as right now you're seeing the briquettes and pellet stoves that are listed. And I should mention, these categories, especially for stove characteristics, one-to-one matchup of stove and fuel and characteristics. Obviously, for a lot of these technologies, they're dynamic. They use multiple types of fuels. In some cases, many of them fit into different categories. So really, it's about customizing what you're looking for out of the catalog and thinking about, different criteria for the technology you may be searching for. And the catalog provides you with a lot of flexibility and a lot of options to customize your search results. So some of the other filter categories are stove materials. So that'll tell you a little bit more about the durability of the different stoves. And there's also geography as a filter. Geography right now typically has different regions. But if you scroll back up to the top of the stove page, there's a search box where you can actually type in, for example, if you type in China, that would show you the stoves that are listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog for all those filter results. But if you click out of those, you can see all of the stoves from those individual countries by searching. And finally, you can also filter by price. Suggested retail price is an option. So if partners have shared that information on their stoves, you can set that bar to kind of the price range that you're looking for. And underneath that, so you can see right now for that specific range of 0 to 200, those are the stoves that are listed in the catalog. And then underneath that is IWA tiers of performance. Is actually the final filter. So what this means is for stoves that have test results that have been shared with the Clean Cooking Catalog publicly and align with international standards set by ISO and IWA, you can search by stoves that are listed at those particular tier values. And again, using that slider function to see the stoves that are listed under those tiers. So that's the stove listing. I think if we clear out of the filters, we can actually go into one of the stove. So let's go into the ACE stove. If we scroll down just a little bit and click on that. So this will give you an idea of when you click on a stove link, what you would see. So the left side has all of the filters that this particular stove falls under. At the top, you'll see the stove name, the manufacturer, in this case, African Clean Energy. There are two links next to the manufacturer. If there are clients, that will direct you to the partner profile on our website, and as well as the manufacturer's website, so you can learn more about the stove. You'll see a short description of the stove underneath those two things. If there are test results that have been publicly shared with the Clean Cooking Catalog that are linked to those IWA tiers of performance for emissions, efficiency, indoor emissions, and safety, then those are shown on the stove page. If you click on the link show sub in that IWA tiers of performance box, you can see the sub-tiers that are actually factoring into that overall tier designation. One of the questions that gets asked is often, I see this particular stove has a lot of test results that are listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog. Why does this one specific test result lead to these tier values? Or why isn't another test result mapped to another tier value? There are a variety of reasons why specific test results aren't necessarily linked to IWA tiers of performance. It can be that the actual test protocol didn't meet the IWA requirements. It could be that the test results were self-reported and not third-party results. So there are a couple of reasons, and I encourage you, if you want more information about IWA and those guidelines, to look at ows.org. Under the technology section, there's a lot more information about ISO and IWA if you're interested. So looking again at the stove listing, if you scroll down a little bit, there's information for consumers. So things like pot capacity, the maximum and minimum values that of liters that the stove can accommodate, approximate lifetime, so that's given reasonable use of the stove, people fed, if that information was provided by the manufacturer, the type of pot that the stove uses, common foods that it cooks, manufacturer's warranty, and those details, and then finally where the stove is actually deployed in. And if you keep scrolling, there's some more general information. Where the stove is, the approximate retail value, the dimensions, weight, and then also shipping dimensions and weight. Local assembly, that's information, again, that will help you kind of get a better sense of deploying the stove in the field. Materials for local assembly, so if there are various shipping options, those are going to be listed on here as provided by the manufacturer. And then you can see there's a lot of other information that's been provided on the specific stove. That'll give you a better sense of different specifications and features of that. And for this particular stove, under performance details, so there's 3 test results that are available in the Clean Cooking Catalog. And these test results can be what the Clean Cooking Catalog is really designed to do is take those different test protocols and provide a summary of those different metrics that were measured. So in this case, we have a couple of IWA emissions metrics and efficiency metrics. If you keep scrolling, you'll find a summary of all of those, which I'll talk a little bit more about in the test results section. So that should give you kind of an overall sense of what the stove listings are. Again, this is a partner-driven resource, so this is information that's primarily provided by the stove manufacturers. So in some cases, models will be updated, so we'll have to go into a stove listing and update that information on a stove model. In some cases, there are test results that are available in the Clean Cooking Catalog, so we encourage people to connect with those stove manufacturers using those links provided. the partner profiles and the manufacturer website if they need more information on current use and deployment in the field. So that's the stove section. Again, as I mentioned, we're looking to develop a fuel section as well in the next couple of weeks. So that will be very similar to the stove section, and it will spotlight specific fuels that are being manufactured by our partners. And it'll have some of similar information and will be tied to specific testing results based on that fuel. But right now, if we could navigate to the testing organization section, I'll give you an overview of what that is. Okay, so this map shows you the testing centers that are contributing to the Clean Cooking Catalog. So this map is not all of the testing centers. These are just the ones that are contributing to the catalog that we have test results for. So, you know, I get asked a lot, you know, why isn't this testing center listed on this map? It was because we don't have test results that have been shared by that testing center. But still, as you can see from this map, we have a wide variety of test results that have been shared, and it's really a global effort. It's not really localized to one specific place. There's testing centers from all of Clean Catalog, and we definitely encourage that diversity in testing environments. So I won't get into kind of any of the specific testing centers, but there's a link at the bottom of that list that would direct you to how to connect with those testing organizations if you'd like more information. So for manufacturers who are interested in procuring testing services, they can be directed to the main Alliance website that has a little bit more details in terms of contact information and services that those testing centers are providing. And there's also a link to submit testing results. So for testing centers and for manufacturers who are interested in contributing to the Clean Cooking Catalog, that link is also listed under this page. So now if we go into the test results, check a little bit more about the type of test results that are listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog. So as I mentioned, the sort of jumping off point for the Clean Cooking Catalog was the stove performance inventory. So the test results date back to 1996, but as you can see from this list, we have more recent test results as well from 2015. And these are, especially particularly with the more recent test results, these are contributed by our partners. So they're participating in the Clean Cooking Catalog and sharing that information with us. And similar to the stove section on the left side, you have the ability to have different filter options. So if you click on test type, that'll bring up a list of some of the different testing protocols that are being followed that are listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog. I think the primary one is the water boiling test. So there are 405 test results in the Clean Cooking Catalog protocol. You could filter by year and back to 1996 and goes to 2015. For those IWA test results that I mentioned, where they're going to be linked to specific tier values for performance, those are going to come for the more recent test results. So for test results that are in the 1990s and really prior to 2012, you're really not going to see the IWA tier values if that's information that you're looking. There's also stove characteristics as a filter option, similar to the stove section. If you're looking for test results associated with a specific stove type, you have the option of looking under that filter criteria. And then if you keep scrolling down, there's also test environment. And as I mentioned, we have both field and lab test results in the Clean Cooking Catalog. And this is really important because, the lab tests give us, how the stove is performing in some controlled conditions. The field test results are equally valuable because they tell us a lot about how the stove is actually performing in the field, with the actual end users. So that type of information is definitely valuable as well, and has been integrated into the Clean Cooking Catalog. And then finally, there's also reporting type as a filter criteria, and that will show you, the Clean Cooking Catalog is primarily focused on third-party testing results, but we actually also include self-reported test results as well. And if you have the self-report and go into any of those results, you'll see that we self-reported. So let's just click on that really quickly so you can see. So that is what a stove test result listing looks like. And if you look at that under, we won't go back into the stove section, but if you looked under that particular stove, it would show you that these test results were self-reported. And the reason why we have self-reported test results as well as third-party test results is that different stoves are oftentimes in different stages of development. There's a lot of internal testing that can be conducted on stove prototypes. So that information is still valuable because it's telling us, overall the progress of the sector. It's giving us an idea of where stoves are performing at and really what's on the, front end of innovation, how those stoves are performing. So it's still valuable information, but we're definitely sensitive to being as transparent as possible about whether those are third-party or self-reported. So if we go back into one of the test results listings, you can click on that really quickly. So just to talk a little bit about the information that you may see under the test results. So it'll tell you the stove that it's for. The vast majority of the test results in the Clean Cooking Catalog are associated with a specific stove, but in some cases, rather than being associated with a stove, will be associated with a stove type. And the reason for that is we actually do now have the option of anonymizing test results. So for manufacturers who aren't necessarily comfortable with their stove name being associated with a specific test result, again, because different stoves are in, development and they may not be at a stage where, they're ready for distribution or deployment. So they want to anonymize those test results. That's an option with the Clean Cooking Catalog. But as I said, the majority of the test results will give you the stove name that they were tested for. It would also give you stove description if that's been provided and characteristics, what fuel was used for that specific test result. So this isn't fuel that the stove can use, like a comprehensive list of all the fuels the stove can use. It's really the fuel that was used for this specific test. And it'll give you, if that information was provided, a fuel description, fuel moisture content, net calorific value. If you scroll down, some of the test information details, so what test protocol was used, what country the test result was performed in a year, whether it was field or lab, altitude if that information is available, number of replicate tests, and then if you keep scrolling, source information. So we've actually developed a spreadsheet that can be directly imported into the Clean Cooking Catalog. We're definitely sensitive to things such as, transcribing information and data. So we developed specifically right now for the water boiling test and the stove safety test, templates on the main website that you can download and directly contribute to the Clean Cooking Catalog. And if that was used by the testing center or manufacturer providing those test results and shareable, then Clean Cooking Catalog users have the option of downloading that source spreadsheet. But in this specific case that we're looking at, that source spreadsheet wasn't available. So IWA tiers for the test result, again, if it was mapped to specific ISO IWA tiers, and performance metrics. So these are not necessarily all of the metrics that the test result has. These are summary metrics. So we've worked with partners and experts in testing to take a look at what metrics are most useful to people. And it really depends on the audience and depends on what they're looking for. So there are a lot of potential metrics that can be reported. But just know that these are not necessarily all of the metrics that were measured by that specific test result. They are the ones that the Clean Cooking Catalog has reported. And we also have standard deviations that are listed if those were reported by that specific test result. So if we can go back to the main catalog website, so if you click back up at the top on Clean Cooking Catalog, that will take you back to the main site. I wanted to briefly mention some of the other resources that are provided by the Clean Cooking Catalog. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a glossary section that you can go into under testing resources. So, you know, we received questions about these metrics that we're using or, you know, different stove characteristics that are mentioned in the Clean Cooking Catalog. And what this glossary does is provide a short explanation for how we're using that metric or, you know, what we're defining a specific stove characteristic as. So it's another resource for catalog users to get more information about these various metrics and even a little bit of information about various common protocols that are being used in the Clean Cooking Catalog. So I just wanted to point that out in case there are questions if you're using the Clean Cooking Catalog. That resource is available to you. Under the Contribute to the Catalog, so there's two links here that I wanted to mention. If you click on Submit a Stove, this is the online form that is a link that I send to manufacturers to provide stove information to the Clean Cooking Catalog. And basically what you do is you fill in some contact information, and then if you scroll down, there's stove information. This is all the information that's listed under those stove listings. Manufacturer, so if you're a current manufacturer that's listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog, that will be an option on that list, but if not, then you can type in the manufacturer name in that other box. Stove photo, if that's available, and we definitely like stove photos that have clean kind of white background, but if not, that's okay. And then general information, country where it's manufactured, countries where it's been deployed. Again, this is all information that I highlighted under the stove listings that you can contribute. And as I mentioned under the stove listings, you know, a lot of times with the development of these stove technologies, manufacturers will need to update this information that's in the catalog. One of the common things that gets updated is sometimes, you know, when they're submitting the stove information, they don't necessarily know what pricing it's going to be at. And so what we do is you don't have to completely resubmit new information every time this gets updated. What we encourage partners to contact us at catalog@cleancookstoves.org. And we send you a link that takes you to this form, and it's going to be pre-populated with all of the information that you've already provided to us, and you get to go in and make the changes that you need and resubmit that. And I should mention that when you submit the information to the Clean Cooking Catalog, it doesn't automatically get listed, there's an approval process, and that's really so that we can take a look and make sure that it meets our requirements for the information that's being listed. And the contact information that you provided at the top will allow us to reach out to you if we have some questions about things. And in most cases where there are some questions, it's really about providing as many details as possible, so clearing up some of the ambiguities. One of the things that happens with submitting stove information sometimes is that some performance metrics will get mentioned in a stove description. So a stove may say, our stove is performing at this number percent efficiency. And what we might do is reach back out to the stove manufacturer and say, this really shouldn't go under the stove description. We need the test results that kind of verify that information, because that's really what the catalog is about, having that verified testing information to support those performance claims. So that's the stove submission form. And if we go back to the main page, the last thing I'll show you is the test result submission. And that's a little bit similar to the stove submission form, but in this case, you provide contact information. If you scroll down, there's stove information. You can select the stove if it's already listed in the Clean Cooking Catalog. And if it's not, then you would let us know what the name of that stove is. And I mentioned the ability to anonymize stove test results. That's the question that's underneath that stove question. So should the selected stove be publicly associated with that test result? Again, by checking no, what that would do is when you look at the test results, rather than saying, it's for this specific stove, it's going to say it's for this stove type. But it gives you kind of a general sense of what that stove is rather than specifically naming it. Test results information, the testing organization who performed that test, test type, fuel type, country that the test was performed in, all that information can be selected there. Source data. So this is, again, where that template that I mentioned that we developed for water boiling test and the safety test is uploaded. And you have the option of letting it be publicly accessible. So if people want more information than the summary metrics, they can have that ability to download the template. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to provide a little bit more functionality to upload test results that don't follow that Alliance approved template. But for now, what this test result submission page does is allow you to use the template that we provide. And also we've been working with testing centers, partners, to allow their own spreadsheets to have that upload mechanism. But if you have any questions about that, just contact catalog@cleancookstoves.org. And that can be something that we get in touch with you. It may be a case of providing test results that have to be manually entered on our end, but we can definitely work with you to figure that out. And then finally, publication information. So if this test result was published, you can provide a little bit more information there. And also notes to the catalog administrator. So that's if you have any kind of comments that you need us to be aware of. This won't be listed under the test result. This will just be things that we see on our end. You can provide those notes in that box there. So that is the test result submission page. So in terms of contributing information to the Clean Cooking Catalog, those two buttons are the ones that you utilize on the Clean Cooking Catalog to submit stoves and test results. Again, this is a living resource, iterative in development, but growing. Definitely, as you could see from all the test results, we have more recent test results that are being contributed. And this is really something that we work with our partners to contribute. So if there are ever questions about the information that's being provided or why it's being asked, or filling in details, those are all things that you can reach out to us at that email, catalog@cleancookstoves.org, to help resolve. So that's the Clean Cooking Catalog. And again, if you have any questions or any feedback about that, catalog@cleancookstoves.org is the email address.
Thanks, Kate. We now have time for questions. So if you haven't already typed a question into that public chat box in the bottom left-hand corner, go ahead and do so. And we'll take a minute to review any questions that have already been asked. I'll read them out, and we'll start with the Q&A session. Okay, our first question for Kate. Do you have a way of differentiating between test results from the lab and the field? Oh, and I think that one was answered in her presentation. Let's see, next question. Kate, we submitted our stove a few weeks ago, but it hasn't been published in the catalog. Could you help us with this?
Sure, yep. Again, the email for any questions is catalog@cleancookstoves.org. In terms of the turnaround for submitting stoves, it's usually fairly quick. I'd have to look at what that specific stove is and why it has or hasn't been approved. In some cases, I can just send a link to where the catalog listing is. In other cases, I'll probably have to work with you directly to resolve any questions that we might have. So, Jose, I will follow up with you directly about that.
Okay. Our next question is, what does the Alliance do with the test results?
What do we do? Well, if they're able to be shared publicly in the Clean Cooking Catalog, then they're listed, and that's, again, I went through kind of the various options that submitters have about anonymizing those results or sharing them publicly. In terms of any internal Alliance use of the test results, I know for various partners who are submitting for grant funding, we've been working with that team to develop newer requirements about sharing testing results with us. And a lot of those are shared with the Clean Cooking Catalog. So that's kind of been an ongoing process over the past couple of months to look at kind of what we're requiring for grantees in terms of testing data. But really what the testing data on the whole does for us at the Alliance is again, it gives us an indication overall of where the sector is in terms of performance. So that's generally how we're using those test results and that data.
We have another comment from a participant who participated in yesterday's webinar on measuring social benefits of adopting improved cook stoves, and who says it will be great when results start to come in so that we can add that type of social impact information to the catalog. Kate, if you want to comment on, I know you mentioned a bit of where the catalog is going, but if there will be information such as that included in the near term or the long term.
In terms of incorporating things that fall outside of the scope of what the catalog currently has, I haven't looked at the data that, John, that you're referring to on the social benefits of adoption, so I can't say for sure what information from that could be integrated into the catalog, but thank you for letting me know about it, and I'll definitely take a look. I know that what we're to kind of more broadly talk about other information that can be integrated into the catalog. What we're doing is we're looking at providing more linkage between the Clean Cooking Catalog and other Alliance resources. So even if that information isn't housed primarily on the Clean Cooking Catalog. For example, some of the health information or some of the humanitarian projects that are going on with the stoves that are listed in the catalog, that we're providing more linkages to where those resources are on Alliance websites.
Great. We had another question about whether it would be possible to present the stove results or stove production and distribution information on a map view rather than the list view. Maybe
Absolutely.
That's just more of a comment yeah.
No, it's a great comment. And that's actually one of the other developments that we're looking at for the Clean Cooking Catalog. So I'm glad to hear that that's actually a desirable feature because it aligns with the direction that we're going with the catalog.
Great. Also, just a follow-up comment from Seema Patel on the Global Alliance team to dovetail off of what Kate was saying in response to John's question. The Alliance is developing a fuel analysis tool that will incorporate some of the social impact indicators that were highlighted in yesterday's webinar. One other question, is there an easy way to see which testing centers have the capacity to test solar cookers or cook stoves by type more generally?
To answer that question, so I think the catalog won't house that information. However, as I mentioned, we're providing linkages between the catalog and the main Alliance website. And one of the things that we're doing with the list of testing centers on the main site for the Alliance is having a little bit more information about the services that they provide. That's currently in development, but should be something that is developed within the next couple of weeks. So again, I think that that's sort of the better place to have that information because, as I mentioned, right now on the catalog, it has a list of the testing centers that have contributed test results, but it's not all of the testing centers. So for the contact information and a little bit more information about the type of services that these testing centers are providing, available quality assurance documents that they have, some of their equipment capacities, all of that information you're going to be able to find on the main Alliance website, cleancookstoves.org, under the testing or under the technology section. So that's a great comment, and I think that that's really much needed in terms of connecting stove manufacturers with testing centers, and certainly the catalog is designed to provide links to where that information can be found.
Well, we have a few more minutes. If we'll stay on the line if there are any other questions coming in. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you for joining. This sort of new partner webinar series will be something that we do quarterly, where we'll provide a brief introduction for those more recent Alliance partners on what we do and how we work, and also feature a specific tool or resource or partner engagement opportunity. So thanks for tuning in.